Welcome, Nanna. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
First of all, congratulations on your promotion to CEO. We brought a little something for you to celebrate that because what would it be without a toast? So
I love that. Yeah.
officially, congratulations.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much for being here. How have your first months been? Yes. How are we going
How
to
are we
drink
going to
it?
drink it? Like, we have to. Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how have your first months been?
Yeah. So it's 3 months ago that I stepped into my new role, and I would say it's been hectic, but in a way that I've been. How can I put it? I have so many good people around me, so I feel safe even though it's quite intense at the moment.
Like intense being just a lot of different things being on your plate, a lot of hours maybe as well. What is the most difficult thing, or maybe most challenging aspect of it so far?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning, the first month, it was just keeping up with everything. I got a lot of messages and a lot of emails and a lot of people who wanted to connect and cooperate and exciting possibilities, right? But it's not really the hours that's the problem. I think I even work maybe the same amount, maybe even a little bit less, but it's more the like
attention span.
Yeah, exactly. And when I get home, it's difficult to turn off the head, I would say, even more than before, because the task just rolls, all the time.
I'd love to talk more about that later.
Yeah,
Because I think a lot of people can relate to it.
of course. Yeah,
It's something that is very difficult to manage, but it's very important to find a balance in it. And I think as well what you're saying, the difference between, it's difficult to figure out what is important and what is not.
Yes.
And what do you have to let go and where do you actually want to spend time.
Yeah.
And to indeed keep the attention on it to be able to actually do the work.
Yeah.
Now, before going deeper into that, I want to talk a bit about your past because you studied psychology.
Yeah.
Or you worked in the hospitality industry first, but then you studied psychology.
Yeah.
Worked a little while in that area, but then you decided to move back to the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so it's in many ways it's a strange profile I have because I did my bachelor in psychology and my master's, so now I can call myself a psychologist. But I did all this while I was working at Gastromé at the same time. So I've been working part-time in the industry the whole time.
So when did you graduate? How long is that from your master's?
3 months ago as well. So yeah, why not
and
all
you're
at once,
29
right?
now, right?
Yeah, I'm 29, yeah. And 3 months ago, I finished my education. Now I'm a psychologist, and also I stepped into the new role as CEO. So everything has changed at the same time.
Quite a milestone.
Yeah.
And just when you always feel like, after graduating, then it's like, stress, relief, it's gone.
Right.
It just became a little more stressful.
Yeah, at least a bit more intense, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you notice a big difference between your last role and the current role in terms of indeed just tension in general?
Yes, definitely. There is a big change. It's first of all, the biggest change I think is now there's more things on my table that I'm expected to do. And before this, I took a lot of responsibility as well, but I did it like an extra thing. So you get to be the hero of the day when you do something extra, right? Now when I do that, I'm just doing my job. And on top of that, I have more. So it's the intensity of the job is just stronger in some sense.
The expectations just
the
changed
expectations.
completely.
Yeah.
I get that. Because you started 6 years ago, approximately, right? At Gastromé?
Yeah.
What did you do in the beginning, or how did it start out, and how did it evolve into what you're doing today?
Yeah. So 6 years ago, I started as a part-time waitress. Before that, I've been working 4 years in the industry, actually, as a waitress as well. So I've been in restaurant business for 10 years. And 6 years ago, it was just a part-time job. I was excited to start at Gastromé because they had the Michelin-star. I found that very exciting and interesting. And I got to work with some of the most dedicated people in Aarhus, in my opinion. So I just did that in the weekends, and after work we would go to the city and get drunk and have fun, and like it was just
like a proper hospitality job,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Job.
And it was everything I needed to get through my study as well, because that's all the opposite. It's very serious and focused, and also quite isolated. When you study psychology, you have a lot of reading and not so much social work.
That's not that practical, of
no,
course, no.
Not at all. So I needed some place to be social and have fun as well, and to push myself, because I could do that at Gastromé as well, even though it was just a part-time job 6 years ago.
And how did that evolve? Like, when did you go full-time? Is that you did go full-time earlier on, right? Or maybe sporadically?
Yeah. In periods between my studies, but never more than half a year, because then I had to go back to my studies.
Yeah, exactly.
So I haven't really been full-time before now, actually, where it's full-on. Yeah. So it's, when I look back 6 years ago and then looking at now, today, it seems like such a jump, because from part-time waitress to CEO, right?
It's a fair statement, because it is quite a jump.
It is quite a jump, but for me it happened more gradually, basically, and it happens in steps. There's been some important moments throughout these 6 years where I was kind of moving closer to where I am now. I can see that when I look back.
Yeah, exactly. You just get to know the company in and out as well when you've been there for such a long time. You also been through, I guess, the whole transition from the old location into the new one, going through the difficult periods like COVID and all of that stuff. You get to see it and witness it firsthand, and you also you become more of an integral part within that time, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But indeed, if you would look at it from a very simple way, you actually went from part-time waiter rather quickly to a CEO position.
And on paper, that's exactly what happened 3 months ago as well, because I was still just part-time waiter or employee.
And what do you think is the reason that you ended up in that position? Just letting you reflect.
Yeah, that's a difficult one.
I think there's a lot of people who will aspire a similar career path, and it, of course, you cannot copy-paste something, but there might be some some simple things in there that can really move the needle.
Yeah. When I look back at my time, the 6 years before now, I see these moments where I somehow stepped up from being a part-time waitress to something more. And I think all these moments added together is the reason why it makes sense today that I'm in this position. I reflected on that this morning, and I thought, when was the first time I had one of these moments? And when I look back, I'm pretty sure it was when we went to Smukfest festival here in Denmark.
Yeah.
For the first time. We did that 3 years ago. And Søren, who's the co-founder, he asked me if I wanted to help him. And I said, okay, I can help you. I didn't understand why, because at that point I was just waitress. And we went there and we had 60 volunteers with us and our whole team, 10 people. So we were like 70 people there. And no one knew what to do. We have a big setup with 200 seats, and the guests were like coming in a few hours. And
because indeed, just for context, you basically do pop-up restaurants at festivals, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And this was the first time we did it ever. So we just jumped into it, basically. And all of a sudden, I agreed to help Søren. And I could just feel like, someone needs to do something, right? Someone needs to organize this. So I jumped on a table and I just started organizing people. Like, you 3, you go there, and you 4, you go there, and you do this, and do. And it makes me smile now, because when I see it now, I remember Søren standing in the other end of the room, just looking a little bit scared, because this little girl just jumped up the table and started organizing people and yelling, right? But I think that's one of the moments where he realized as well that, okay, Nanna has something more to bring to the table. And she steps up when we need someone to step up. And I've done this more than once, where I feel, okay, someone needs to take action or responsibility or do something now, and I'll do it. And I think it's a bit strange to talk about yourself this way.
I get that.
But I think that's kind of the reason that now I end up being the CEO, because I just time after time I proved that when we need someone to step up, I will do it. And it doesn't matter if it's a dishwash or it's organizing people, or we're going to do a pop-up on Samsø during COVID, or when we changed the location. We had so many things going on as well. But I'll just do what's necessary.
Yeah, but it's like, I think we can relate to that from a completely different aspect of work, of course. But being able to see where help is needed or where action is needed, it's just a big thing, and it doesn't come natural to a lot of people. So I guess, as you say, and reflect yourself, it makes a lot of sense that from the owners of Gastromé, that's a sign to see, okay, here's potential. This could be more than just a part-time waitress.
Yeah.
But very nice to hear. And how did you feel in general, by the way, when you got offered the position? Did it come as a surprise to you, or was it a process where you feel, okay, we were working towards it, but there must have been a moment where maybe Søren or the other owner came up to you and said, like, hey, what would you think about this opportunity?
Yeah. So I knew we had to do something when I finished my education 3 months ago. And I was actually open to finding another job if we couldn't make it work, because it had to make sense both ways, right? But I had no clue that they were going to offer me the CEO chair at all, actually, which is quite strange.
I get it as well that you don't.
I really didn't consider it.
It's not the usual first full-time job you get.
True. So I was very surprised. Actually, first when they asked me, it was Søren who told me, we would like to offer you the role as CEO. I thought he said COO, which is operating officer, right? Mm-hmm. All these titles are kind of a new world for me as well. So I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And then he continued talking and mentioned the word directør in Danish. And I was like, wait, what are you saying? What are you saying? And I just started laughing. It was very... it wasn't very professional.
The nervous reaction, right? Like it comes out. Yeah, but it makes sense. But did you have looking at yourself and at your personal ambitions, like, was it something that you at all had in your head, or you were basically just doing your job to your best of your abilities, as you just explained as well? But is it something that crossed your mind, or was a personal ambition at all? It just really happened?
It didn't cross my mind to be CEO at this point at all. It crossed my mind to have some kind of co-ownership in the company if I wanted to stay. And also it was important to me if I decided to stay, that I had room to develop and to push and to do pretty much what I wanted to. And that's where this role is perfect, because
you get the freedom.
Yeah, I get the freedom and the flexibility and
the pressure.
And the pressure that comes with it. Yeah. But it's a position with a lot of trust from the whole leader circle. So they trust me, and I can explore different opportunities and follow my ambitions. But it wasn't a solution that I thought about before they offered it. Yeah.
And then it came.
And I started laughing, and they were like very serious, trying to explain to me, and this means blah blah blah. And I was
You're being serious right now?
So hard not to laugh. I don't know.
Again, if you just don't see it coming, and again, also hearing it now, it's just not the regular way it would be going, right?
Yeah.
But here we are after all. But one thing I can imagine is like going into that role, indeed, as you say, very unexpected. So you also don't get much chance to, or like opportunities to prepare yourself. So how do you do that? Like, where do you get inspired? Where do you learn from? Of course, you have the people internally who have been doing it for a long time, but there's also an expansion ongoing. More on that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, indeed. So where do you go, or where do you seek advice, inspiration, and learn?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's not many role models out there with a similar background or position as me right now.
In general, I guess it's more common that usually it's the owners, like it was previously, right?
Yeah.
There is just, and they are in the kitchen, or they tend to be in the kitchen.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, most restaurants are run by chefs.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to a certain point, but at the same time, it can bring in another perspective and view when you have another background. Yeah. So where do I look for inspiration? The funny thing is, I've noticed after my new role, everyone wants to help me, which is beautiful. So I get a lot of messages from people saying, if you ever need some feedback or whatever, a talk, you can just call me. And I really found a great value in having advice from people from outside the business, which is kind of funny because the restaurant business is so specific in many ways and very special in many ways. But at Gastromé, we want to treat the company more like a company and less like a restaurant. So I get a lot of advice from people from outside the business as well. And we have one thing that I'm really grateful for is our advisory board, where we meet four times a year. And then they are some of the cleverest people I know from other businesses like marketing,
different industries and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All the stuff that I'm not good at yet, at least. And then they can support me and advise me.
Yeah, but it's great because in general, same applies to all different types of companies, right? Like you don't need to do something exactly the way as it's been done in the industry.
No.
It's probably better to do the opposite because every business is a business. Like it doesn't matter your industry.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can be honest with each other that the restaurant industry is not necessarily the best performing on that as well. Like thinking of profitability is probably one of the types of companies that goes bankrupt most frequently or struggles the most.
Yeah.
And there might be because indeed there is just too much focus, and it's good, or like the focus should be on what is being served, but there should also be someone who pays attention to the other side to make sure that the numbers add up.
Yeah.
Because it can be all fun and games and great quality and great service, but if the numbers don't meet, then it will not last.
No.
And I think indeed for that perspective, you have to look at what other industries do well and how can you learn from each other, or at least involve people that can help you with it. You don't have to do everything yourself, and I think that will be one of the bigger lessons for you as well, while doing it, or for everyone in that sense. Something we also struggle with very frequently.
Yeah.
But indeed, it's so tricky to manage that for yourself.
It is.
And I think that very much applies to your first few months in the new role. Is like, what are some of the challenges you have personally faced already where you're like, okay, I didn't see that coming, or maybe I struggled with handling that, or I would definitely approach that differently the next time it appears. Do you have any examples for your first quarter?
Something concrete. Let me just think.
Yeah, and it can also be something where you're just like, oh, I didn't expect that to be part of the role from the beginning. And it can be from positive things, but also from negative things, like when being in a position where the buck ends with you in that way.
Yeah. I can say that it's been quite a challenge to find my own way of owning the role. Not so much with the outside world, but internally with the team, because they've been my
colleague.
Yeah, and they still are.
But
Yeah, in some ways. And they used to be my bosses as well, some of them. Yeah. And I worked with them for many years and known them for many years, and we've done crazy things together, right? So kind of like the position and the way for me to own the role has been tricky. And I don't think it's been an issue actually, but it's more for me and in my head that I want it to be natural as it was before, but in some ways, when we're talking, we have to talk salary with some of the employees, right? And I'm at the end of the table, and it's just like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's inevitable that you have to jump between the sides of being friends and being the boss for a bit, and you can still be friends while being like someone's boss, but it becomes more tricky when you have a personal bond, of course. Like
definitely,
and that's something you'll definitely have to build up. But at the same time, I do also believe, and I think you can speak from experience, that the people will also do what they can to understand your position as well.
For sure. And so far, it's only been a good thing that we've been through so many things together. Because right now, a lot of the work I'm doing, they don't see it, so they don't really understand or like what is Nanna actually doing. And the guys in the kitchen, they know exactly what they're doing. On the floor, they can see what they're doing. They're working together. What is Nanna actually doing, right? And I think because we went through so much together, they have a certain respect and trust that I'm not just doing nothing. Like
just watching some series.
yeah, exactly.
The office.
Yeah. But I am like now I'm leaving earlier than them. I'm also getting in earlier, but they don't see that.
They're not there.
So it's So it's I think right now it's it gives me some leash. Do you see like it gives me
it's like a bit of pressure that you feel.
Yeah. And hvordan siger man?
Have you found ways to eliminate that for yourself? Because indeed, like in the end, you don't have to prove it, of course, what you're doing. But I get what you mean. You want to show like, hey, I'm actually doing stuff. And if they're not noticing it themselves, like it can be difficult to tell. But have you thought about ways of getting the team informed of what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, trying to inform them as much as possible.
Exactly.
And also trying to go on the floor from time to time. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going on the floor.
I was just about to ask you, do you still do service?
Yeah, I do sometimes. For two reasons. One, it's really fun. I still love it. And I
miss it, to be honest, sometimes,
You get kind of addicted to it, right?
Yeah, but there's so many, and I think that's maybe nice to talk about afterwards. There's so many great things you take with you from working in the industry.
For sure.
You really build up great work ethic. But indeed, I guess for you as well, you also want to know what's going on, right? Where
exactly.
things can be improved, where things are maybe almost too perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of information in it for me to go on the floor, and I feel the guest and the experience, but I also feel the team quite strongly because I've done it so many times. So that's the one reason to do it. The other is for the team to see me as well and to feel that we're working on the same ship, everyone.
Yeah, exactly, to keep it like tight as well. And to also show like, hey, it's not because you move to the office that you feel...
No, I'm not superior in any way.
Exactly.
I still enjoy doing the dishes. I love doing dishes, actually. Yeah.
Really?
Very simple, nice job.
What is just to turn off the thinking and what to clear the head?
And you see the progress right there.
I can't relate.
love it.
I can't relate.
It's the best.
I love the dishwasher.
Oh yeah.
But fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that's also very relevant about this is in general the picture of high-level restaurants, right? Like stress levels, a lot of hours. That is just something that's still very much going on. It might be getting better over time, but I'm curious, how do you guys approach that to indeed make sure that people don't get too stressed out or don't have a feeling like, oh, we are working our asses off here in the kitchen while other people are just looking at it from the sideline? What do you do to avoid it, but also to make sure that they actually get enough rest and that it is a balanced job?
Yeah, that is a difficult job because, as you know, as a co-worker, it is long days, and it will always be, because as a chef you start a process in the morning and you end it late, and then you do service, and so you have the long working hours. What we do to take care of the staff is, of course, to control the hours. We do that with Workfeed, actually, because we can track the hours on all the employees, and when we see someone who's off, we'll try to manage it. But in my experience, it's more important actually to think about how you use the hours. One thing we are very good at, I would say, is to involve people a lot. So every Tuesday we sit down, we have the Tuesday meeting, and we look 1 week back and we evaluate on everything, and everyone can say if they have something they want to change, and we look 2 weeks ahead. And in this way, we all feel like involved and in control, and I think that's even more important than cutting off a few hours of a long shift. Because what is really a bad cocktail is if you feel out of control and also you have a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, if you take it home, because then you can be off, but you're not off in your head. And you mentioned that slightly in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
If you get the tension in your head and you have no way to relieve the stress, and same for everyone, whether you're the CEO or working in the kitchen, because I can only imagine how stressful that must be to constantly be exploring new ideas about menus and everything. You have to find a way to relieve it. And I guess for you, you have a better understanding perhaps of the mind than most do with your background in psychology. How do you leverage that when it comes to actually going into your leadership position now, even though it's early days? Do you feel like you get to actually benefit a lot from it?
Yeah, I do. As you say, it's early days, right? It's been 3 months, so it's quite difficult to put a pin on exactly what it is I'm doing. But I feel I have another perspective than the other leaders in the house. And I am very focused on taking care of the employees. And not just by putting down the hours, but also, as I say, by involving them, by listening to them, having regular evaluation and meetings, which is something new. And I think in many restaurants, you don't have that many meetings. And in the beginning, it was difficult at Gastromé. Everyone was like tripping because they wanted to get back to work.
It's not the type of people who want to sit still.
Well, when can we work? Why do we have to sit here and
behind.
talk?
Yeah.
So it's been a process to now realize when we sit down and talk, we are working. And it's a very important part of our work, because this is where we, first of all, we coordinate everything, but we also check in with each other. How many resources do you have? How much pressure do you feel? And in that way, we can regulate it.
You can also relieve in those moments. It's actually a moment to let it go, rather than just standing next to a colleague saying, hey, this sucks, and then continuing with your day. Yeah, I can.
Exactly. And it's so simple. It's a weekly meeting, but it's how we do it, and that we keep on doing it. And that's something I've been adding to the week, which I'm very happy about, because I feel like it's actually releasing the pressure. And maybe that's because I have another background, that I thought, hey, let's do it this way.
Yeah, and it might also have something to do with just the change in generations, right? I do think that also slightly changes things, but I do very much understand where you're coming from. Like for us sitting in an office, those things, they are just more natural, because you can walk into each other, and it's like when you're actually working, let's say, in the kitchen, and you're doing a specific task, compared to sitting behind a computer, you just feel more comfortable with interrupting someone maybe behind a computer, even though it's not always great. But to actually sit aside, have meetings where you talk about what are you doing. Whereas in the restaurant, you just say, okay, we're going. And let's get it off. So it's, especially cross department, it becomes rather difficult, of course, to work into that. But yeah, that's one thing I wanted to mention earlier. There is also so much benefits coming from that, and that's what you get to experience when you step out of the industry. It's like the work ethic, even though it can also be the pitfall, it's also great, like the perfection that's in there. And that's something I never worked, like I just worked in a regular restaurant, like, so it's fine. But what I was always curious about, I guess, and I think you can or should be able to explain that quite clearly, having been in, like, working in a regular restaurant as well. What would you say is the most obvious difference between working just a regular restaurant, can still be like good, compared to going into a restaurant with the Michelin-star, where the quality level must be met constantly?
I've been working in both. So I would say the main, of course, the big difference is when you have a Michelin star, that every guest could be the guide. And that's just you can't change that. That's a
bit of stress hanging over there.
Yeah, and it has good things and bad things to it. But because every guest could be the guide, we need to perform every night. And to be able to do that, we have to work together in a certain way. And I think that's what really divides, let's call it a normal restaurant and a Michelin restaurant, is to get a Michelin star, you have to have a very certain team spirit. Because if you had a bad day and you serve something not great to the guide, we would lose the star. If you had a bad day and I backed you up and we fixed it before the guest felt it, we could keep the star. Because, of course, everyone has a bad day once in a while. But the point is that we have each other's back in such a determined way.
Yeah, so you just have to operate as a team
Yeah.
to make sure that you pull each other back up.
Exactly.
But I think there's also the benefit, even though there's loads of pressure with knowing, okay, there is less room for mistakes, or at least if you make a mistake, you better make sure to not do it again, at least shortly after. But at the same time, there is something beautiful in the fact that you will actually treat every guest the same, rather than having preferences.
Yeah.
Might also, again, sometimes be annoying. I'm not sure if you notice a difference there in terms of the audience visiting the restaurants with, let's say, a Michelin-star or the regular restaurant. Do you notice a different type of audience? I expect you do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's not so much that it's a different type of people. We have all kind of people visiting us, but it's more like you feel that they've done an effort to get there. Some of them has saved some money before, or maybe it's an anniversary and they put on their nicest clothes and they've been looking forward. And all of this creates a very certain feeling around the guest when they arrive that you don't see when you work in a cafe by the Åen in Aarhus, where I also worked, where people get there when they're tired and hungry and angry. And you're like, oh, food. Yes, welcome.
Food much
yes,
now?
Food now.
Yeah, the expectations are just completely different, of course.
Yeah, it's just food. Yeah. So it's I love the guests that we have because they've done some kind of effort, all of them, when they walk in the door. And that's a great start for an experience.
I also remember from the time we recorded that tour, it is also a very cool experience, I have to say.
Yeah.
Can check it out on Workfeed's Instagram, by the way,
in
case you're interested. But indeed, like, I still remember, and I guess that's for me also one of the differences, is it's a whole experience rather than just, indeed, you walk in, you get to the table, and you have food.
Exactly.
And it can still be great. Like, definitely there's also a big spectrum and you can be somewhere in the middle. But the feeling from walking in and everything just making sense afterwards, it's like, you can also see that you guys work as an organized team, almost a machine, you would say. I guess that's how it sometimes feels as well for you guys.
I think of it more like a body, really, where all the different parts of the body is working together. And when we get someone in on trial who's not really a team player, just like a body, when it gets a sick liver or something, it just pushes it out.
Break your ankle real quick. It's very difficult to walk afterwards.
It's very clear when you get someone in who doesn't have the team spirit. The team is just like, no. Exactly. Even though you're very skilled or talented or whatever.
Yeah, but it proves what you see all across, right? The same they say always in sport, you can be that good.
Yeah.
But if the team can't compensate or carry you with it, then it will not work out.
Yeah. No. It's very similar to a team sport. And everyone plays a certain role and backs up each other.
Yeah, if your position is the same with like making the dish and as much in service, of course. Yeah. And to add up on that, like, loads of restaurants aspire to have a star. Maybe some are further away than others. They're just working their way towards it. But especially for those who are maybe closer to it or who have the time to work towards it, what would you say are the main things to focus on? Or what is it that you also do to maintain it? So what do you feel like, okay, for someone chasing to get that first star, what should you prioritize?
Yeah, that's a funny question, because the thing about the star is we don't know why we get it. You don't know exactly what they evaluate on. But I would say...
You do know what you guys prioritize, of course.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I would say it's important to keep on developing and moving. Because if you find, let's say, 10 dishes that are great and you just do them over and over again, it can be great for a time, but the kind of the excitement and the fire around it will die eventually. So it's all about setting the right team. I know it's kind of a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. And you need to find a team that wants to move things to the next level all the time, to push the boundaries. And you need to set ambitious goals, because the more ambitious goals you set, the higher you will reach. Even though you don't reach the goals, you will reach higher than if you didn't set the ambitious goals. So it's about setting the right team who wants to push for the boundaries, who doesn't fall back and feel content, but who always wants to push it. And then it's about being brave as well, believing in what you do and just own it, do it full on, instead of trying to figure out what people want to taste or wants to see, or look at someone else and try to do the same. Because, I don't know, again, the excitement and the fire around it will
you
die.
do it for yourself as well as a main thing, right? How do you find the right people? Like, where do you, because I believe you also have more international people,
Yeah,
right?
we do, yeah.
Where do people come to you? Actually, also, I guess, because you have the privilege.
Yeah.
But is that all that happens, or do you also look for people sometimes? Or maybe you find people in places where you don't expect it when you're out there for yourself as well?
We had a lot of like rising stars within the organization where they start as on a lower level as a student, and then they come back one day and has turned out great. Myself being an example on that, actually. So it's, I mean, we are privileged because we do get a lot of applications and a lot of very ambitious people. The most ambitious people are the one wanting to work for the Michelin stars. But again, it's about choosing the right people and setting the right team. So you have someone on each position who plays the right role, like a football team, right? And really looking for that, the hunger of wanting to push the boundaries and do more than what is expected, because that's how you get to the next level.
Exactly. And from like, I think this is a good example of, but from a business perspective, like, what does having a Michelin star really mean, like, to Gastromé? I think the first point you just answered yourself, hiring becomes a little easier.
Yeah.
Or at least finding people. You don't have to look for them, they will come to you.
Yeah.
But do you feel like there's other things where, like, okay, that just are like unique advantages that you get from having that? Of course, you have the name, or like the audience that will come to you solely because you are in that guide. But do you feel like there's other things that perhaps in your extra ventures that are popping out right now, you also get the benefit of being related to the restaurant with Michelin-star? Do you feel like there's other things out there where you really notice just the difference from being labeled as?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's no secret that the star is very important to the brand. So let's say we lost the star, we wouldn't be able to do the same things as we do now. So that's like the hardcore truth of it. Specifically, when we go to a festival, we do a pop-up and we use our name, and people visit us because they know the name because of the Michelin star and they have certain expectations. We do that as well with, we have started like a business network where we have now 50 companies who participate in a network with Gastromé. And we make some events for them 4 times a year at our place, and they are kind of connected to us, and they get to network with each other and so on. And they pay us some money every year to be part of it. And we wouldn't be able to do that, I'm sure, if we didn't have the star. So the star is our brand, basically, and which makes it also vulnerable, because if we lose it, there's quite a lot of damage.
That's completely out of your control. Or like not completely, of course, you know what you have been doing for years that work, but still.
Yeah.
One complete off day could have very big consequences.
Yeah, it would jeopardize a lot if we lost the star, but we never tried losing the star. So again, it's in theory. I'm just.
Guys, I have an idea.
Let's try something new
now. Let's lose it.
Yeah, well, but it's just the hard truth of it.
Yeah, but I get it. Like, and do you feel like there are negative aspects towards having a star? Pressure maybe being one of them, even though pressure is also very beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult when we do a lot of other things than the normal Michelin experience, the large menu. We have struggled a bit with trying to, regulate the guest expectations. So let's say the first year on Smukfest is a good example. People came, and I think the menu was like 500 kroners, sharing food, and it was good quality, but it was more simple food. We were in a forest cooking, and people, like, they didn't really understand. So there's like the expectations goes both way, and some of them were complaining that it wasn't a Michelin experience. Yeah, and then you have to really go into that dialogue and be like, you're completely right. This is a version of Gastromé in a forest. We are cooking in a forest.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
they expect the real deal.
They expect, because you have the star in your head, so you expect something else. And now at Smukfest, I think we've taken that dialogue so many times, trying to be clear about it. So we don't experience it anymore. But then when we go, this year we'll go to another festival, Heartland Festival. And I'm sure we'll experience something similar. And then we have to take the dialogue again and be like, yes, it's a great point, but it's because...
you can also not really avoid it beforehand. It's hard to hang up a flyer on the wall saying, hey, it's not going to be as good.
Yeah, exactly. It's also
not the real deal.
It's a difficult message to communicate. Like,
it is. And I do guess the majority will...
The majority understands.
Because, again, if you... it's very easy to justify it. Like,
but you'll be surprised how many...
True. And also, of course, when there is some, perhaps, alcohol involved, and it might be a more tricky audience in general. But
that's where I see the biggest downside is when we do something that's outside of the box, we have to work harder to communicate about exactly what is it that we're doing, exactly what can you expect from this. And it's also when we do events in the house, when we do a concert or a champagne event or a sommelier evening, we need to be very precise when we communicate that this is exactly this.
Indeed. I guess clear communication of the description of the event is a big thing. But and I guess it will be something that you actually will have to deal with more frequently in the future, because Gastromé is not just a restaurant anymore. Is it like, can you maybe explain a bit more about everything you're doing? You already mentioned the events, the business networks, going to festivals, doing pop-ups.
Yeah.
Where does this come from in the first place? It might have something to do with COVID back in the days as well, just an assumption. And what is the vision?
Yeah. So the vision is to be more than a restaurant. And the simple reason and the honest reason for that is because being just a restaurant in the type of house that we have now and the size of the team that we have is just not possible economically. Yeah. So we need to think outside of the box on that one and expand. So that's why we want to be more than a restaurant. We started doing it when we moved to the new house 2 years ago, because it's, for the people who haven't been there, it's a large, wide...
Once again, watch the video.
Villa,
I will make sure to edit in the description, because it will definitely provide a lot of context. We will definitely include it in the intro as well.
Good. Cool. Then I can show you around in the house there.
Yes.
But it is a large house, and there's a lot of options also for companies.
Can you even call it a house, actually?
Yeah, I'd like to call it a house, because we try to make like a homely experience for the guests.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it's more a palace.
Okay, it's a large house. It's for sure. Yeah. But to answer your question, being more than a restaurant started when we moved to this house. Because this house needs more than a restaurant. Yeah.
Perhaps actually a nice little additional detail for also those who perhaps aspire to indeed grow in towards the level of a Michelin-star restaurant, that it also requires a lot of, or like brings a lot of other challenges with it, because indeed you have to get the higher level of staff in order to always meet the expectations, and that simply costs more.
Yeah.
And if you're not, of course you can increase the prices on the menu, but also only to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So that is another path of it, that is not just the bright side all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And especially it's the team and the salaries are the heavy one, actually, because you have to have so many people to create this extraordinary experience, and we can't really change the prices that much because we need to be in the same level as the other star restaurants. So
it checks out.
So in that way, we have to be creative, which is actually a nice challenge, because you get to think outside of the box. And as I mentioned before, with setting the right team with chefs who wants to push the boundaries, this is on a more like a organizational level, pushing the boundaries, or a strategic level.
You get to be entrepreneurial in
exactly.
a sense, yeah.
And it's been very like, almost like starting a new company within the company, specifically with the whole business part of of Gastromé now with the business network, but also with partnerships with larger companies in Aarhus. That I've been, the whole 2024 was a year where I was just calling companies and getting meetings and creating partnerships and doing network, which is a strange job in a restaurant. Right?
It's very strange, yes.
But it made a lot of sense because now we have a lot of business activity in the house, which really helps us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that something you also try to then prioritize in the moments between service to fill up the house, or is it also a lot outside of the venue?
Yeah, we try to do it like we have private normal guests on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we like to have the business activities in the house because the staff is there anyways prepping for the weekend as well. Yeah. And then sometimes, because in the house we have a large room for bigger parties or conferences, and then we have the dining room, the restaurant. So we can actually do both at the same time, or we can do a wedding and 20 people a la carte at the same time, which is the brilliant part of the house, because then we don't have
so many different areas. I remember like the big rooms as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they're divided enough so we can do both at the same time. So it's almost like running two places in one house.
Yeah, and they're also styled quite differently, right? Like they have a bit of a different atmosphere, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah. On purpose, because we want to divide the different experiences so we can make it, as I talked about with the communication, make it clear to the guests what is happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Completely different topic.
Yeah.
But just, I remember from being at Gastromé the last time that you are doing something very different, I guess, than most other restaurants would do, Michelin-star or not. The garden you guys operate together with.
Oh yeah, Kofoed Skole. Yeah.
My pronunciation, I absolutely
it's a difficult one. Hard to translate. Kofoed Skole.
Kofoed?
Yeah.
Got it. All right, but can you tell us more about that, what you're doing, and indeed the impact that comes from that as well?
Yeah. So, the garden specifically has been a project for many years. We've been running it together with Kofoed Skole, which is an activation center for challenged people who's outside of the working market. But what happened the last year is that we took all this activity and placed it inside the house instead. So actually for now, the garden is on pause, and we have what is called virksomhedspraktikanter in Danish.
Like so company interns.
Yeah, company interns.
Practical internships.
Yes,
my Danish is pretty decent, actually.
Okay, I like it. Yeah. So we have them in the house now instead, so we have more control of it, because it was difficult to run a garden and a corporation that far away from the house with this little people.
What is the type of work they're doing then?
Some of them has been in the kitchen, prepping.
Nice.
And then we take it slow. It's also because it's kind of an interest for me. I control these, how do you say? Like I make sure that we do it the right way. So we start with very small tasks and then we build on slowly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's all about getting some success and then building on that. So it's different. Some of them are in the kitchen. Some has been on the floor, polishing glasses, cutlery, preparing for service. And right now we have a young guy in the kitchen. He's only 15. We hired him last year, and he was struggling with school. So now instead of being in school 5 days, he's with us 3 days and in school 2 days. And in the kitchen and just growing like crazy. It's very amazing to see.
It's about the environment for some people, right? Like that's just it.
It is, and a restaurant is a perfect place to do this because it's very like specific jobs and it's easy to get in success.
There's a lot of structure in general, and like for a lot of people, structure makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again, you get to work with your hands, with your mind, but a different, like you can just decide yourself how you're working at that moment.
Yeah, it's very flexible.
Speaking of development, like would love to hear a bit more about your own personal development. Again, it's been a bit of a roller coaster from that end for you as well, of course. But who have been the biggest like influencers or like mentors in your career You spoke a bit about CERN earlier on, but who have helped you to get where you are today? Also outside of Gastromé, of course.
Yeah. Well, I would say that CERN has definitely played the biggest role in pushing me to where I am now. And I don't know, maybe it's different from person to person. I never really had that many, I've never been a fan of people like, or idolizing them, or I never had someone specific, like a role model, and I just wanted to be like that.
Just taking bits here and there.
I've taken bits of people I've met on my road, and then Søren has been right next to me the whole time, kind of pushing me upwards and supporting me, and he's still doing that a lot. Maybe even more now than before.
Checks out.
Yeah.
And like speaking of getting those bits of information, again in your new, where do you find it, or where do you look for inspiration when you're maybe not sure about what's going on, or when you want to get inspired, or maybe get some confirmation, because imposter syndrome might creep in at times?
Yeah, for sure, all the time.
But how do you relieve
the
yourself?
cure for that is just to pretend. Just pretend that I got this. Yeah, I've done it plenty of times before. So where do I look for confirmation and inspiration? Well, again, I will say it's maybe it's not that typical, but I do get a lot of inspiration from larger companies that are not restaurants. I look at them and I see, okay, how do you make customers? How do you do your marketing? How do you do economics? How do you talk about salary with your employees? And then I try to pluck it from the big companies and translate it into the strange little Gastromé machine that I'm running. Because my job is right now to make Gastromé more a professional company than it's been before, but to keep the fire and the passion and the rock and roll or craziness that's also in there. So it's kind of it's like it's like an operation where I try to make it more professional, but without killing the patient, killing the craziness, right?
Pushing the edges a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
What is the main, or like the biggest bottleneck you would say, where you struggle most, or where you would actually see the most benefit from getting outside help?
Well, for me, the economic part is new, so I need a lot of support there. I'm catching up on it, but it's quite complicated to run a restaurant, actually. And especially when you do a lot of activities that are not just the restaurant part. So that's a big challenge, I would say, where I get a lot of support. The marketing is also very difficult. I don't know, maybe some restaurants just got it, but I think there's so many channels to operate, and there's so many choices, and how much time should you spend, as we talked about before we started.
Which channels should you focus on?
Yeah.
That's usually the best way, because it's very easy to feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
But by doing all at once, you're likely actually missing out, and it's better to focus on one channel. Like we had that short little moment where we actually spent a lot of time on it. What we noticed, it just happened on one channel. Yeah. Because that's where the people you actually want to or get in front of, they're actually spending their time there. Yeah. And I guess that's for you something that can be very beneficial, or in general for any restaurant owner for that matter. Who are your guests and where do they hang out, or where can you reach them? Yeah. And it's not an all size or one size fits all, of course, but there tends to be a bit of a pattern that you can at least rely on. Yeah. I think we are slowly running out of time. Okay. But I do want to end it up with a final question. A bit of friendly advice at the end. What advice would you give to someone who is perhaps having the ambition to grow into a similar role as you, to break into working at a Michelin-star restaurant, maybe to get their own star? Doesn't have to be precise, but simply, what is one thing all of them could do to get to that place?
Just one thing they all could do.
One piece of the cake
to get there.
To make it more complicated for you.
Yeah, okay. as I mentioned before, don't be afraid to be ambitious. It sounds simple, but it's scary to be ambitious because you might fail. But again, if you fail, you might have reached higher than if you didn't set the ambitious goal. So that's definitely one. A more like practical advice would be make sure that your whole staff goes to the restaurant once in a while and eat as a guest. This is something we do at Gastromé. We almost force the team to go eat because you see the experience from the other side and you just get better at your job when you see it that way. And it's very simple. It's just giving a free dinner to your whole staff. So
if you ever run out or if someone doesn't want to go, just let us know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's also a nice part of the job, right?
We can help.
I have to do it as well. It's very...
It sucks. Yeah.
It does, yeah. But
and I guess you on occasion also have to do it at like your colleagues to get inspired. I guess it's part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So in other words, go work at a Michelin-star restaurant. You get to do fine dining a lot of times.
Yeah. But this is an advice for every restaurant, I would say. Even, all levels.
100% agree.
Yeah. Send your staff to eat at the restaurant for free. And you will feel the effect of it. And be ambitious. And what else do I want to say? Yeah, it all comes down to the team. So be precise when you choose your team, especially because the salary is a heavy economic post. So don't pay the wrong people. Take your time to find the right team and then
pay them enough to keep them.
Pay them enough to keep them, involve them, inform them, and let it grow. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nanna. Thank you for being here as well. I think it's a great point, what you mentioned with in the end. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we look forward to seeing you do a lot of cool stuff with Gastromé.
Thank you.